Hey guys, welcome back to another Culture Boys discussion. I'm Pepe and I'm joined by Nathan, and today we're talking Dragon Ball movies. That's right, our
Yeah.
favorite thing. We're not even talking about like the Battle of Gods, Resurrection F. Like we're talking about the old school Dragon Ball Z movies. Like so far, we watched 13 of them, didn't we, Nathan?
Yes, we did.
Yes,
Yes, we
and
did.
this is going like all the way from the Dead Zone to the what was the last one?
Wrath of the Dragon.
Ah, Wrath of the Dragon. Of course it is. Of course it is. But yeah, we're gonna give you our thoughts on each of these. We'll run through a few of them. Might talk about some longer than others, but who knows? How are you doing, Nathan? Are you well?
I'm tired. I it's a lot. Like each film is roughly 45 minutes to an hour,
Yeah.
and I watched basically all of these yesterday. I actually noted when I started and finished just for a frame
Yeah.
of reference. So
Mhm.
yesterday I started at roughly 12:30 p.m. and I didn't finish watching them until 2:30 in the morning.
It's low. It's a slog, isn't it?
Yeah, like given a couple of breaks here and there, but yeah, like fucking that was long, man.
Yeah, because I started must have been about 10 o'clock in the morning. Because I started yesterday as well. Like so, I started 10 o'clock in the morning, and then I watched the first three. Then I had a break, and then I went back to it. And I think I only got up to. I think I had to do five this morning. So I
Dang.
started with BoJack Unbound. So I
Okay.
went for yeah. So I went for five of them today. And let me tell you, like the thing is, it's all about Dragon Ball movies. Quickly, like a quick rundown of them because these are all basically non-canon as well.
Yes.
Like, if it's fair to say.
I will also go through where they take place as we get to each film. In like the timeline of things, none of it makes sense. That's how you know they're
Oh,
non-canon.
yeah, absolutely. We'll get into it like for sure because there's a lot of things I want to bring up about these. Um, but like I remember the only way I've seen these before, and there are a couple others, mainly through Toonami back in the day when it was on Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
Like that's how I've seen most of these.
movie marathons, in it. They used to do that quite
Literally,
a
yeah.
lot.
'Cause they had like one each weekend, didn't they? They scheduled all these Dragon Ball movies out, and I remember these. And like, it's been years and years since I've seen these. So some of them are like, oh, that's a throwback, which is so. It's very different to the actual Dragon Ball series. I know the Dragon Ball series pretty much like well, in and out. Same with you, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, and like the movies, like these movies, I've only watched them once before. Like a fair few, I'll say more about because I've seen a few of these more than once. But should we just jump into it then? Should
Yeah.
we talk about
Let's go
right?
right into film number 1, Dead Zone.
Bloody hell! This is basically like an extended episode, right?
Yeah, pretty
Thi-
much. I mean, it's the Garlic Jr. movie,
yeah,
which takes place at the end of Dragon Ball, right after, well, not right after, but sometime after the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament and before the start of Dragon Ball Z.
I think this is the only one that makes sense in terms of
Yes.
Dragon Ball's timeline. This is the only one. Like, maybe give or take some other ones, but like this is a film. Like, if you see Dragon Ball Z and haven't seen the movies, you'll remember the filler in between the Frieza and Cell sagas, which is the Garlic Junior saga, if you would, which is probably about 5 episodes of
Yeah,
just
I don't think
random.
either that or this movie make much sense.
No, like you could like they don't tie into each other much at all. Like you hear about this fucking Dead Zone thing, and the Dead
Yep.
Zone, like the movie's called Dead Zone. Dead Zone's there for like about a minute.
Yeah, it's right at the
um,
end of the film.
like if you haven't guessed already, there's gonna be spoilers for each of these. We're gonna be talking about
I
these,
mean,
but
oh,
like,
sorry, spoilers for these fucking really
yeah,
old films that don't mean anything to the story,
but
but sure, spoilers.
but Dead Zone, man, it was like it felt more Dragon Ball esque than maybe
See, the
Dragon
thing
Ball
is,
Z. Maybe I don't know. Like,
yeah, it is because it's right at the end of Dragon Ball,
yeah.
but it's the first Dragon Ball Z movie. But at the same time, I kind of enjoyed that in a sense. It's like refreshing, because right now we're all like
Mm.
key and flying and like teleporting and shit. Like it's pretty crazy. So to go back to basics and watch them do like actual martial arts and acrobatics.
Goku can't
Like,
fly.
I thought that was quite nice, yeah. But at the same time, there were some things in the film I didn't quite understand. Like, when the henchmen turn up to get the Dragon Ball from
Mm,
Goku's house,
yeah.
why did they have to take Gohan and take out Chi Chi? They could have just took the hat and it,
Literally, this this is the one thing about Gohan Z design as well. Like, quite a lot of these films obviously revolve around the Dragon Balls, and Gohan has the hat with the Dragon Ball
four-star
sewn
ball
in.
on it. Yeah, like
You'll find a common occurrence is that they just take the whole child.
yeah,
Like, you can easily take the hat, I don't know, knock out the child or whatever, Dragon Ball fashion, take the hat, bye. But then it's like, oh no, Goku's got to go and save his son. And literally is unnecessary. Like, plot devices. It's just plot
pretty much.
devices. I
But
understand.
Goku could have
But
still gone to just save the world. It doesn't have to be like, oh, we beat
literally,
up your
yeah.
family and stole your kid, right? You could have just been like, hey, Goku, they're trying to destroy the world. They're trying to fuck shit up. Can you go sort out? And he
Mm.
would have been like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
You know,
like, this is just it's just a movie where, like, obviously it had to, like, they did this for some reason. Like, I used to question back in the day, like, why these weren't in cinemas, and now I know why. One, if I paid to see this, a 40-minute long movie where this shite goes down, I would be pissed off. Absolutely,
yeah.
I'd be pissed off. I feel like these must be in best, just must have been on TV in Japan, right?
No,
Did
I
these
think they
actually
were
go into
theatrical
they
releases.
actually went into theatrical release, Jesus Christ. But there we go, that's a thing. My one thing though, one note I had for this is that, like, yeah, sure, plot device aside, it's a bit meh. Like, you really don't need to watch this. But like, you can tell it's early Dragon Ball Z when there's a fucking 1 or 2 minute long segment of Gohan having a drunken
Yeah, okay.
illusion
I
thing.
noted that down. I was like, what's up with the weird like alcohol apples, like fermented alcohol apples? Like, I didn't understand
Yeah.
that. Um
But, like, this segment went on for, like, a minute or 2, and I was like, "Jesus Christ," it's showing its age. Uh, but yeah, this is,
there were some
I
things
mean
in it that were kind of funny though. Like
mm.
after Krillin and Piccolo turn up and then
Oh
the
god, yeah.
henchmen, the henchmen like power up but they like say something. I don't
Mm.
ever remember them going, gingerbread, tutti frutti, cheese.
Cheese! I was like, obviously, naming conventions, Dragon Ball, they have, like, a set, but the cheese bit just caught me off guard so much, bro. I was like,
Well,
"What?"
especially because two things are desserts, and then one guy
Yeah.
just goes, cheese.
This must have been different in the Japanese dub,
Oh, yeah,
surely. Oh,
probably.
right.
But, like, that's just, it was so funny because it
Oh,
was
it
so
was,
random.
it is, yeah. It was just an interesting thing to watch, and it shows its age, and it's fine. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. It's just it's fine, and if you like Dragon Ball, you might like this, but you also might hate it. So who
Well, I
knows?
mean, like, by this point in time as well, you also have to, like, remember it's quite old, so it's a bit rough
Mm,
to watch because,
mm.
animation quality has, like, progressed leaps and bounds since then. And it has to be up-resed now, so, like, that probably was originally in, like, 480p or something.
I think animation style, I didn't really have that much of a problem with it, to be
It
fair.
was
Like, I
it
was,
looked how I remember it looking. It was
yeah,
fine.
it was stated, and that's fine. That's fine. Like, but yeah, I think we'll move swiftly on to a movie which I found a little bit better. It had a longer
Yeah,
runtime as well, but World's Strongest.
takes place after the Saiyan saga, but before Frieza saga.
Yes.
Somewhere in between, which is weird.
I'm a bit confused about World's Strongest because, like, what was it a guy who revived Dr. Wheelo?
Dr.
Dr.
Kochin.
Cochin, that's him. Like, they made out that, like, these two are friends or whatever. But, like, my main pick from this is Dr. Wheelo is a massive brain
Yeah,
in a robot's body.
yeah.
Was Dr. Wheelo a giant?
Maybe in the same vein that Ox King is like way bigger than anyone else,
But the
probably.
brain is the size of, like, Dr. Cochin himself.
That has always confused me. Like, why? how and why is it such a huge fucking brain?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I know he explains that. I didn't listen to it. Well, I
Yeah.
think he explains it anyway. But Bond was like, "Wait, you're Doctor Coaching? Shouldn't you be dead?" And he like explains how he isn't.
Mhm.
But I think his explanation was shit because I think it was just like, thanks to Doctor Wheelo's genius, we survived. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but
Yeah.
how?
And, like, where did you like, you just seem to be in this area, you managed to find this technology to keep Wheelo alive. Wait, did he
Well,
keep him
also
alive or something?
no, because
What did he do?
Wheelo was fine because he was stuck under the ice caps, like he was frozen in all these glaciers, right? But then if they were together, but Wheelo is in the glacier, how did Cochin get out?
Hmm. This is the thing with these movies. It's like I think that's the thing. Like the explanations for these are very loose. It starts off with a very minor problem setup, which takes a minute to happen. Then the big thing happens. There's a big fight, and then it gets resolved very quickly.
Yeah,
Like and this is one thing that I find about these movies. Like the pacing of these is, I think, the thing that really annoys me throughout it. Though without trying to sound like too like entitled and shit like that. But like when you have a movie where the setup is 1 minute long, there's a bit of goofy stuff in for 5 minutes, then the villain gets set up, then there's a good like about 30 minutes of fighting, and then the resolution to the whole thing is done in 5 minutes.
and there's
Like,
always some sort of lame joke at the end as well.
oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, I'm not like it just like all feels like everything's happy and everything's back to normal after that. Like, but there's sometimes there's like people like there's mass killings going on in some of these movies,
Oh,
and
there
then
is one thing I need to say about this film, though. I just remembered. For anyone who's gonna go watch this, be careful because at the title sequence, there needs to be a seizure warning because it
oh
flashes
god,
black and white really, really fast, and like, I, it's not a problem for me, but it still really hurt my eyes.
oh absolutely, I know exactly what you're talking about because this isn't the only movie to do this either. We'll talk about the other one later on, but like this, I was in bed at the time, like nursing a hangover. And literally, like, I'm in the dark watching this thing, and then fucking suddenly, like, Jesus, like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's bad, isn't
epilepsy
it?
warning, man. That is really bad.
It's
Again,
so
it
bad.
must have been dated, but God,
Like, it's definitely dated, but at the same time, I'm like, how?
even like, I don't know, like, these are like still produced afterwards. Like, surely that must have been
Yeah, right. And surely
like
this film
somehow.
must have come out after that fucking Porygon episode of Pokemon that they had to pull because it
Absolutely,
gave
yeah.
all those kids seizures. So, like, it's not like we didn't have something widespread that did that, right? Maybe it didn't. Maybe it came out before, but even so, like, that
It
was,
could have been corrected, man. That's
yeah,
one thing.
that is
Like,
horrendous,
that is really
honestly.
bad. But again, another film where I'm just like, yeah, like
Yeah, it was okay.
it is what it is. It's okay. It's better than Dead Zone, but I'm not gonna say
Yeah, but I
much
mean, that's
more.
not hard.
Tree of Might.
Okay, Tree of Might is the first one that I sort of actually enjoyed it because like I actually like Turles as a character. I think it's a nice juxtaposition to see how Goku could have turned out if he
Yeah,
didn't bash his
absolutely.
head as a kid and turn good.
It is cool. Like, I'm always a little bit thrown off about the Turles design and the origin because he just says, "I'm like kind of a very similar situation to you or whatever," but he looks exactly like Goku, but he's not related to Goku whatsoever.
Yeah, that's because like people used to explain it away with like, oh, when you're a lowborn Saiyan, like you're sort of really generic and like whatever, whatever. But I think it is literally just they probably wanted to be like, oh, it's evil Goku. That's it.
Yeah, it literally was. We wanted to make an evil Goku design, and they made it again, fucking like 20 years later, 30 years
Yeah.
later,
But like the
with
thing
fucking
is,
Super. But yeah,
for the time, it's yeah, it's kind of good because it's like, oh wow, it's evil Goku, but this guy's like smart as well. You know, like he's not just the Saiyan who
yeah,
fights; he also kind of uses his brain.
probably would have been Goku if Goku didn't hit his head. Is literally
Again,
like
yeah,
what Goku could
exactly.
have been. Yeah,
Also, like it's a small thing, but it leads into this fucking dragon Icarus like returning. I don't remember this film being the introduction of Icarus,
no, I
but
always
it
remember Lord
is.
Slug Icarus is his first arrival. That's how I remember it anyway. But apparently, like, yeah, this is the introduction of Icarus, and that's fine. Like Icarus is actually in more films than I remember.
Yeah, it's so
The-
weird. Like this fucking little dragon just keeps coming back, and you're like, why?
I
It
mean,
doesn't do
like,
much, but okay.
it somehow lends like I guess like it kind of gives Gohan a motive as well. Because up until this moment, like really Goku's the only one that had motive.
Yeah,
Like, and he like if because Gohan would be the one that's been kidnapped or Gohan's in danger, so Goku's got to be I got to protect my family, and then he goes over there. But sometimes, like when Dragon Ball Z progresses the story, obviously Gohan became more of a character, he get trained up, and he actually fend for himself. So
yeah.
I guess they gave Gohan Icarus as a plot device to be like, oh, I've got to do something to say help save Icarus or whatever. This is where this film kind of comes into it,
I
I
also
guess, with
wouldn't be
Trioma.
surprised if Icarus was just created to be like a sort of like movie mascot to sell stuff as well, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure that I had like a little minifigure at one point, which was Gohan and Icarus together.
See, that's
Like,
what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if literally Icarus was created just to sell some merch or something.
yeah, it's cute and it is quite a bit.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
it's
but
pretty cute.
Triomite, the fights were actually quite fun to see. I will give it that. And this was like probably released around the time that Saiyan Saga was going on.
Oh
So
yeah,
like,
it takes also
yeah,
takes place sometime between the Saiyan saga and the Frieza saga.
because
So
Goku uses Kaioken, right?
yeah, Goku uses Kaioken and like Turles knows the Blitz Ball move, you know, to create the artificial moon. So like it's stuff we potentially saw beforehand, and then it's just sort of repeated.
Yeah. But yeah, it's all right. I think so far out of the three that we listed, Triomite has been my favorite, and it has got some pretty fun fights.
Yeah, it's the best one so far, but like you know, we're getting into some really good ones.
Yeah, I think this is where they kind of hit their stride a little bit because then we got Lord Slug, which is actually my first Dragon Ball movie that I saw in general.
Okay.
Like before this episode, before we decided to record this episode, like I remember I had a DVD. I think I mentioned I had a DVD back in the day. Bought it from like Woolworths at like £5 or something. But and that was a different dub. But this time, it's like it's a bit different to how I remember it because although I've seen Lord Saga loads of times, this one like it's different how I remember the story playing out. I don't remember it being like, oh, they want to like make Earth really cold and like take away all the temperature and stuff like that. I don't remember that plot device.
I don't remember that either.
No, but like because like what was it at one point as well? Um, Goku and Krillin go missing because they basically a comet's heading towards Earth. Gohan and Krillin go to stop it. They kind of do it, but they get knocked out. And meanwhile, everyone else goes to like see who the fuck Lord Slug is because his ship's arrived on Earth. And then he takes everyone out again. I think do they take they don't take Gohan, do they? They just take his hat this time. Maybe they
Yeah,
actually do take the hat. Yeah.
they
So
literally just take the hat. Gohan actually survives.
yeah. But yeah, this is a thing where it's an Namekian as well. Lord Slug's Namekian. So this is going on around where the anime was probably placed. This is probably released around the
This is
Freezers.
yeah, it's like just before the Frieza saga.
Yeah.
Still, it's
Um,
still in that same time period, in between the Saiyan saga and the Frieza saga, but like closer to the
yeah,
Frieza saga because like
I'd say so, yeah.
Namekians, and it's also like the introduction of Super Saiyan. But at the time, Toriyama didn't know how Super Saiyan was going to look, so they all just guessed based off of
And
get
he
like they guessed
literally
off
like
of Kaioken. So
see, I always thought when I first saw this, I never thought it was Super Saiyan. I thought it was just a Goku power up. But in this, King Kai literally says, "Oh my
yeah,
god, he's gone Super Saiyan."
yeah.
And he has the whole aura about him that he's gone. Obviously, he has black hair and he has like the whited out eyes and stuff like that. So, like, I've never actually knew they actually said Super Saiyan in it. I thought it was just like they knew they wanted to make it like that, but
I
they covered it
remember
up like.
hearing Super
But
Saiyan, but I don't remember it just being King Kai saying, "Oh, he turned Super Saiyan." I always
yeah,
I don't know if it's like the Mandela effect, where because the fandoms called it false Super Saiyan for so long that like maybe my brain just remembers King Kai saying something like, "Oh, he's almost become a Super Saiyan" or something. Like I don't know, or maybe they did in a different dub because there's like all the films had like three different dubs for English, and we watched the Funimation ones, like just Funimation. There's like
yeah.
the Ocean Funimation dub, and then there's this other one, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's a whole thing.
this is a point as well where I feel like we're enough into it now to actually mention this plot line and another one, like two plot lines I've noticed. Oolong is in these movies a lot more than I
Yeah.
remember him being. Like more than I've ever seen him before. I swear.
In the
Like
sit
Oolong
yeah,
is
right? Why is he
like
always, like, front and center?
he's very much front and center. I've never understood that because I guess it's comedy value. He definitely adds that. But
Yeah,
like, what? It doesn't add much to the movie, the
it
plot in
doesn't.
terms of.
It really doesn't.
This is one thing, and I've just always been like, why is he here? Like, you have Roshi. Roshi contributes that. Krillin even contributes that comedy. So why did you need Oolong there? And
I
he
don't
is
know,
there
just to
so
have the
much.
3 Stooges, I guess, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one thing that I picked up on, and it even happens like further down in these movies. The other plot line, which I noticed is a very, very common occurrence throughout all these movies, is like was it's usually Gohan, Krillin, Goku fight like playing around, fighting around, and then in the middle of the movie, someone lends a hand when there's a bit of a struggle, and 90% of that time, that is Piccolo.
Yep.
Like Piccolo like doesn't appear like or like he's been attacked at the start of the movie and then he comes in like halfway through. But like every fucking movie, I swear, it like Piccolo saves there. It's like, oh my god, Mr. Piccolo, and he's like, did you miss me? And then he starts fucking up some shit. Obviously, Goku saves the day in majority of these, but like Piccolo just turns up halfway through the movie just as a lending hand, and like
Well, I
when
mean, that's
everyone's
because
starting
like,
to
up
like
until
struggle.
this point, that's the main team, innit? Like, because Tien is off doing something and Yamcha's playing baseball. Like,
Like,
there's no one
yeah.
else. It's those 3 and Piccolo.
Also, one thing I had to mention about the trio might obviously stepping back one step is that Yamcha's motive throughout that whole film is, "Hey, they
You
ruined
yeah.
my car.
I
I
spent
need
all
to
my
get
money on me
revenge."
car and you fucked me car up.
Meanwhile, there's Krillin, Gohan being like, "We gotta save the animals. You ruined their forest," and like
You gotta pay me
fucking
back for my
Yamcha's like,
car,
"Yeah, yeah."
man.
And like, I was like, "What the shittest motive ever?" Like, bro. But I swear that's the one of the only movies Yamcha actually appeared in, right?
He was in BoJack
He was in BoJack, yeah, but we'll
to
talk
get
about
wrecked,
that.
but yeah, we'll get there. I mean, like, the one thing about these films that I do like is sometimes you see some of the more background characters. Like,
Yes, I do
Chi
agree. Yeah,
Chi does some stuff in a couple of these films. She normally gets wrecked right after she does
yeah,
anything, right? But it's nice to just see her take up the fighting pose, maybe take out a
absolutely,
guy or
yeah.
two before she gets taken out. But at least she's doing something because
Because
in the series she just cooks
you
and
often forget about
quietly in
that
the
that
background.
Chi Chi is actually a fighter,
Yeah,
but you forget about that because she doesn't do much, like you said.
like it's just that is one thing I will give to these films. At least
Yeah,
they sort of try
absolutely,
to give some characters something to do that in the main series they just would not be there for. Like even like
absolutely, yeah.
in World's Strongest, Roshi fights, which by that point in the series, Roshi doesn't do anything anymore. He's just like
No.
the old master that they go and hang out at his island. Like that's it.
Yeah,
Like and
literally.
like what you said, like Chi Chi is a fighter, but she just became a housewife after that. So it's just nice sometimes to see these things, even though we like just ripped on Oolong. At least he's gets to do something.
He is
Even
more probably,
like
yeah,
yeah,
Yajirobe, yeah,
exactly,
he's
right?
about, like
Yajirobe gets to do some stuff. Like some of these other
mm.
characters just sort of get a bit of a spotlight.
Yajirobe's the one that, like, kind of wakes Goku up when it's, like, absolutely freezing, like, when, like, Lord Slug and them have, like, taken over the Earth, and, like, Yajirobe's there, he's actually like, "Hey, wake up, like, you gotta do
I
stuff,"
mean,
and,
like
like, Goku's like, "Okay, fair."
Yajirobe, fair enough, still does the same thing he always does in the series. Anyway, he turns up and he's like,
Yeah.
here's the senzu beans," and then he's
Literally,
off.
it literally is that, but the man's a sensu bean provider, and it does help for plot, I guess, like,
Yeah, he
but
talks a
yeah.
big game, and then they're like, "Oh, so you're gonna fight?" And he's like, no," and then like disappears. Isn't he? You know. But again, at least he gets to be in the film and do a tiny little bit of something before shit
Exactly.
kicks off, or shit's already kicked off, and he's just here to deliver the Zenzu bean so everyone can be like, haha,
He
life
does
is
it.
good again.
But yeah, like I did actually. Lord Slug is one of those ones where I kind of shit talk it down a little bit every now and then, but it is a decent one. I put it on the same level as Tree
I
of
mean,
Might, you
like,
know.
I put it higher than that because you got like that's where we learn about Super Namex, like
Yeah,
Super
that's true.
Saiyan, and like it's kind of just like cool, you know, like especially because like by that point we're like, oh, it's just Piccolo and Kami, and then it's like, oh, whoa, there's this whole other guy, and he's evil, and he gets giant. Like,
Yeah. My God.
plus he like is one of the only villains up until that point that actually manages, besides like Garlic Jr., he's the only other one who manages to actually make a wish on the Dragon Balls for something. Like
That's true,
Garlic Jr.
yeah.
is like, oh, I want my immortality, but he's like, bring me back to my youth when I was the most powerful, and it's like, rah. Like the only person who did that before that in the main series was King Piccolo.
Kochin also, made his wish, didn't he? Like, I think that's a
Yeah,
like,
but
this
Coach's
is
wish
one
was
thing.
like
I want
different.
Relo back,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was like, "Where is Wheelo? Bring that building to me because it's in this ice somewhere for fuck's sake."
I do recognize that, like, a lot of these movies, like sometimes with Dragon Ball, sometimes it isn't always about the Dragon Balls, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in these movies, they are very like the situation often comes about because of the Dragon Balls. Like, and it actually is like more prominent than I remember. Like, as weird as it sounds, in a series called Dragon Ball, like in each of these movies so far, the dragon has been called.
Yeah. It's like it's only these next couple, I think, next few in the list where the Dragon Balls don't play as big a role, and it's more about the villain.
Yeah, absolutely. So next one is Cooler's Revenge.
I think this is my favorite one of all, I'm not
Oh,
gonna lie.
I love Cooler. I love Cooler as a villain, to be fair, I always have done. Like, I think that final form is sick. Like,
Well, because it's cool, because like, right then, that's like Cooler's Revenge is supposedly in between the androids coming out and before Cell,
yeah. Hmm.
which is a really tight timeline because you're like, okay, so that means Goku and them just came back from Namek, but
Mm,
somehow 17 and 18 are driving around in that van, maybe fucking some shit up.
mm,
But now you're like, oh, but Frieza's brother though. Forget about this thing that's already happening, but
yeah.
Frieza's brother. But he's
S-
cool because he's
He's
like,
supposed to be Frieza, but better, isn't he?
yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say it's like a more even heartless version of Frieza.
yeah. And he's like kind of like like Frieza was kind of like a psychopath in the fact that he liked to play around a little bit, whereas Cooler would just be like, nah, I just want to like
Get shit done.
eliminate.
Like I think he's the
Yeah.
like more efficient version is probably the best way to say it
Yeah.
because he's like because even when like what was it when Goku's they like oh there's a ship going and he's like why would I clean up my brother's mess? I've got 5 more planets to destroy before the end of the day.
I
Like
think in terms of storyline here, I think it's good. I've always liked this movie. Even when I was a kid, I really enjoyed this. I think like what really lends it is the character design. I just love the character of Cooler. I think that
yeah, I
really
think
is
that fucking like it's the look and the fact that he gets like that mouth shield faceplate thing.
yeah. And plus, this is also the first movie where we see Goku's official Super Saiyan
Yeah.
shares, and the whole fight between Cooler and Goku at the end is like I think it's sick. Also, Piccolo turns up halfway through, is like, I'm here to save the day, and gets blown up.
Yeah, but then he does save the day because at the end when Salza's like, "Ah, you fools!" and then he gets fucking special
They
beam
catch you
cannons.
out in it, don't they? Oh, it's Mr. Piccolo. It's like, haha, it's me. And it's like, oh, no, shit, dead. Which leads us into the return of Cooler,
Ugh.
which is not as cool.
Look, I will say this, right? Also takes place in the same time period between androids and Cell, but the Big Getty start, I like the idea of it, like this
Yeah.
sort of like weird mechanical robotic like parasite thing that makes robots. But in practice, it's dumb. It is so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
It's basically like Tree of Might, but mechanical.
I kind of love and hate this movie at the same time because it actually had some really cool moments, especially where this is the first movie where we see Vegeta as well.
Yeah,
Not just that, Vegeta goes Super Saiyan as well, which is also quite cool. You see Vegeta and Goku fight together to take on that first Metacooler, and they struggle. You see them struggle with
yeah,
this thing, and then they beat it, and it's like, finally, we beat Metacooler, and then suddenly a fucking army of them turn up, and you're like, shit me, man. Like, that was, I love that. Also, one of my favorite, like, comedy moments in any of the movies It's where like Yajirobe and the rest of the Z fighters get captured,
Oh, right.
and there's that little robot guy,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Please follow this way, where we will chop you up." And they go like, "What the hell?" And it's like, "Oh, don't worry, we will make this really painless and efficient while we chop you up." And like Yajirobe's like, "No, fuck that." And then meanwhile, there's the little robot's like taking him with him, like. And I actually love that. I thought the comedy in this one was actually my favorite. Like, I think the dub kind of really lends it right here anyway. I enjoyed that. I think like you said, story wise, it's dumb as fuck.
Yeah.
But in terms of fights and the ending's a bit shit as well. I didn't like the ending of this.
No, but I do like that kind of like the look of Cooler's head, and when it becomes that big like
Mm,
wire monster thing, like I can appreciate that, right? That looked kind of cool. Meta Cooler looks cool. The army's cool, but then the rest of it's just garbage.
yeah, it's just it's if you don't think about anything and you just want to see some cool fights, I think this movie's actually alright. But that's if you just like want to just like leave everything out, don't
I
think
mean,
about
like
it.
it's this one out of most things, right? Feels like someone's fanfic. Like, oh, so you know how Frieza when he died, he got like turned into Mecha Frieza with random crap. But what if like we had a cooler Frieza and then he
Yeah.
was like a real robot, but then there was an army of them, but then it's
And it was
because it's parasite.
Chrome.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? It just if you list out all that kind of stuff, it just sounds like
Yeah.
someone who's like writing a fan fiction.
And the way they beat Metacooler is like Vegeta and Goku are Super Saiyan, and they're just too powerful for him to comprehend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
that's how they were, and it just sounds like yeah, someone's fan. You're right. It's the most fanficky one out of all of them.
I know, right? And like this is again even considering that Cooler himself sounds like a fanfic character. He's like, oh, imagine Frieza, but he's taller and he has another transformation. Like,
In fairness, yeah, I get that. It is very much like that.
but like at least that one sort of worked. The Return of Cooler was just to follow up from Cooler's Revenge is just not as good.
Hmm.
Maybe if they
Absolutely.
had swapped the order a bit, like with this next film, like a bit of break in between, maybe it would have been
I
a
think
tiny
so.
bit
Yeah.
better, but I don't think so. I still think the Return of Cooler wouldn't have been very good.
Nah, like Return of Caller is definitely lower tier than like just Caller's Revenge. But uh Android 13,
Yes.
which again, I think it has
Some
some
interesting lines in there.
really funny comedy moments. And just the way that the like all three of those androids interact with just anything. I found it absolutely jokes. Like because those first two is it 15 and 14?
Yeah,
Is it?
14 and 15, yeah.
Yeah, like they're just like walking around like society, like in the middle of the cities, just walking through a department store, not using like doors or any pathway.
Yeah, just
They
like
just walk
flying through the
straight through
floor
things.
or whatever. Like,
Like, some really good offbeat comedy moments in these, and I actually appreciate that quite a bit. And the lines as well. Like,
that I know what you that interaction between 13 and Trunks.
yeah.
Like, oh my god.
It's like, what is it? I think it's like Goku as well. He says, "I'm here to beat your ass." And, it's a line which I just didn't imagine any of the characters just saying.
Well, it's like Trunks
And
saying like, "You could talk, you red ribbon redneck," and I'm like, "Whoa, where
yeah.
the fuck did that come from?" Like,
It's
jeez,
so
man.
it's like they really wanted to just be like, yeah, fucking just show them like just shit talking each other a shit
Yeah,
ton.
right.
And then
But
it's like what was it? Then Android 13's like, yeah, you and your $30 haircut. It's like, why? Why do you, like if you're gonna bring up anyone's hair in this? Trunks is probably I don't know, got the most normal hair. And then you
look
got
at fucking 13's hairstyle before he turns into Super 13.
yeah.
They're not that different.
It literally
Him and Trunks are
uh,
probably the closest in hairstyle. Like,
it's just like some of it just made me laugh, and then like obviously like what was it? There's that all is that that's that iconic scene as well where he turns into Super 13, I think it is,
yeah,
or whatever the fuck. Or is just like I don't know. Is that the official name? I don't even know if it is or not.
I think so. Yeah, because the film is Super Android 13 in it, so it would be
Oh, of
Super
course
13.
it. Yeah. Of course, oh, duh. But it's the bit where he's fighting Goku. And you know, there's that iconic
Yeah.
moment where he just
Yeah.
Goku goes in for a kick, he grabs Goku's leg, just punches him straight in the balls, and it's just like the thing. I remember seeing the abridged version of this when Team Four Star did it, and I remember them focusing on that moment a lot more, obviously for comedy effect. But in this one, he just punches Goku in the balls. It's like, yep, that's done.
See, like, until the internet caught on, probably because of, Team 4 Star, like, I don't even remember that. But then, like, when it became like the next big thing for some reason as a meme, it's just Goku getting crotch punched. Like,
It's the first time you see this is one thing I feel like they really did try and go for the comedy moments in this, and I don't know, even when that wasn't focused on comically, I still think it was jokes.
yeah. Well, because it's just a weird little detail, isn't it? Like, but you're like, considering the way the character comes in, yeah,
Yeah,
Android 13 would punch you in the balls because he's a dirty fighter, probably. But I also thought that it's cool in a way that this film parallels Cell because it's more androids, but they're like pure like mechanical androids that fuse
yeah.
together to make one like final form super being, whereas like Cell was like bio mechanical.
These ones were created by a the explanation of this just made me laugh so much
The
because
AI
it's
robot version.
that thinks it's Dr. Giro. That is that thinks it is. So
Well,
it
the
just
thing is, right, from the explanation, why would it you need to say thinks it's Dr. Giro? It obviously would because it's his consciousness turned into AI. So it is just Dr. Giro. Why would you
Yeah.
have to say
But
thinks?
it's just the line made me
Yeah,
laugh
I
so
know,
much.
right?
Why? Why is this a thing? You could have just said it's learned from Dr. Giro and it just does stuff. Like,
Or is
why'd you have
Dr.
to?
Giro? You
Yeah,
don't have to
yeah.
like it's such an unnecessary detail.
Oh, it made me laugh so much. And the thing is about Super Android 13's design is I've always thought this is it looks fan made. Like out of all of the characters that we've had so far, I know we said about Cooler and Meta Cooler, but this one just looks like, oh, we gotta go for the spiky hair. Let's just make him blue as well.
See,
Let's just make him like
I actually like that design though.
yeah. As a kid, I probably would have seen that and be like, oh, cool. But now I just
I think that's why I like it because I remember it from when I was a kid. I'm like, man, that looks so cool.
blue skin, red hair. It looks like someone just went a bit too far for character creation in Xenoverse.
Oh,
This I still enjoyed this movie though. Like I
yeah,
think they really do hit their stride in these like middle ones here, and I can't fault it too much. I enjoyed this, and plus it has that line with Piccolo and Vegeta at the end where they're just sitting on the iceberg, and there's like, "Is it over? Not till the fish jumps." Fish jumps. It's over. That line, I was just like, unnecessary, completely unnecessary, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. But yeah, now this
God,
is the one,
yeah,
right, that everyone's favorite out of the movies because this is Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan. I think the longest out of all of the movies as well,
yeah,
actually.
I think so. And it takes place somehow before the Cell games,
Yes, it does.
like, when you're like, I don't know how you would fight an enemy like Broly and then struggle against Cell, but non-canon,
Again,
non-canon,
yes.
right? I like the idea of this movie original Broly is
Mhm.
kind of dumb, right?
Yeah.
That he's just mad because Goku was crying as a baby so he couldn't sleep. That's
Yeah.
stupid. But I do kind of like the idea of like just an almost invincible foe because his power level is constantly growing and is
Mhm.
uncontrollable. I kind of like the
Yeah.
idea of that, but the execution maybe not so good.
It's just the backstory of it just seems a bit too it. Like, you wouldn't have that kind of, anger, as a baby. Like, literally, he just develops it. It's not even like, oh, no, him and Goku grew up together and he resented Goku or
Yeah,
anything like
exactly
that.
right. You
It
wouldn't even remember that shit.
No, but he just gets he just latches onto it, and it's just like, okay, like it just keeps on going. And was it a crying or something sets him
Yeah.
off, or is that
So it
like
was basically because when they were born, they were right next to each other in the nursery, and Goku as a baby cried too much, which then made Broly cry, probably because he couldn't sleep. So then for some reason Broly just remembers Kakarot. and every time he sees his face, he flies off the handle. But at the same time, I'm like, one, you wouldn't ever remember that, right? And two, like, get a life, bro. Like,
Again, like,
oh, oh, I couldn't sleep
it's
with a baby because his other baby was crying. Like, come on.
this is this is one of the movies though where I thought the pacing was just wild for me because like I swear it's like the first 15 minutes, like you get the setup of Broly and then you see him fighting for a little bit, then he calms down. And then it goes into another fight like about 5 minutes later. And that's the big one. This is the big fight. This is again where the trope plays in. Oolong's there doing his comedy shit. Piccolo turns up at some point to save the day. Like Vegeta's like fucking crying in the corner. This is fucking wild.
I also like. There's so many things in this film I don't remember. Like, I
Yeah.
sort of remember Chi Chi and Goku doing a school interview thing, but I don't remember it being that long.
They really do play into it, don't they? Like,
But it was also weird to just see Goku in something that isn't his gi. Like, he was wearing a suit. That was just kind of weird.
I
I
thought it was quite funny how he just starts talking to King Kai in the middle of the interview.
yeah, right. And then just like gets up and teleports out.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought that was
Chi
like
Chi's
jokes.
handling of that whole situation is also kind of funny because they're like, Is your husband a magician? He likes reading and
Sport.
sports."
Like I will say, like there's some comedy in these is very hit and miss, but I love this. I love that moment.
I think my favorite comedy part was after Roshi comes out and he's like, "I'm here to help," and then just like does that whole mask face changing thing, and then it's like, but why? But I found it funny because it was just kind of random.
They just sent him off as well, didn't they? They're
Yeah,
like, okay, cool. You had your and they sent them off the planet like halfway through the fucking film. And this is what makes me laugh so much. Is like, so they brought them in for the comedy,
and then got
and
rid of
just
him.
took them away. Literally, you're like, okay, they're removed now. So here's the actual fight. It's like, why have them there? Like, you can have just a completely serious Dragon Ball film. You don't need to add the comedy in all the time.
Oh man! Although talking about serious, I remembered this before it happened, but Broly fucking crushing Paragus in that pod.
Oh
Fuck,
God. Like,
fucking
Jesus.
hell. He doesn't give a shit. He literally is just like crushes it and then chucks it. And you're like,
Yeah.
a guy was sitting in there, bro.
Your dad was sitting in there, man. Like that is like so fucking
And
mad.
his dad in this film isn't as cruel as the new version of the film where to control him, he fucking shocks him. He just uses a thing that powers Broly down and makes him a bit meek and wild. So I'm like, how do you hate your dad that much? I could understand new Broly doing
Mm.
that, but
I
not
think
old Broly.
he's ruthless. I think they really wanted to show the ruthlessness of Broly in this, and it shows. But my one thing is, obviously, we've seen the actual Broly movie, the one that Akira Toriyama actually kind
Yeah.
of overlooked. Like looks over it away, not overlooked. Well, but you can't help but compare these two Brolys now, and you can understand why they've made the latest Broly. The is it 2018? I think the film came out or something. The 2019.
Yes.
Um,
Something like that.
you can you see like that Broly, and you think like, okay, like he actually has some redeeming factors, whereas this Broly, completely irredeemable, an absolute psychopath who is very much conscious of his decisions of what
Yeah.
he's doing and absolutely destroying everyone. Like he actively like what was it? There's those aliens that are like
Yeah.
equivalents of like slaves. And he's like, oh, you see that planet you want to go back to? Fuck that. Boom, it's dead now. And like it's absolutely ruthless. Half the fucking things he does is like and yeah, that's the difference between those two. You can definitely tell them.
I don't
Like,
remember Broly, like this version of Broly, talking
mm,
that much. I,
I
s-
that's what I thought as well. Yeah,
I
like,
swear Broly's normally just like, Coconut!
I thought that
Coconut!
as well. Literally, like I never remember him talking. But yeah, uh, still, like the fight scene in this is the longest one out of all the movies for sure as well. Because this is just a really fucking long fight scene.
Well, I mean, it has to be
Like,
though, doesn't it? Like, they're going up
yeah,
against the impossible, essentially.
yeah.
Because they don't even actually kill him. They thought they did, but they didn't, because he's just
Which
too strong. Which leads into a different film
Yeah,
But
but we'll move on and talk about that in a second. Well, after this next one, which is BoJack Unbound.
yeah, I didn't really like BoJack Unbound, if I'm honest. It takes place between the Cell saga and the Boo saga,
Yeah,
and
because
it's
Goku's actively dead in this one. So
yeah, and like the whole setup for this film was also really stupid, and I didn't remember that either. That it's because a rich kid wanted
Mm.
aliens for his birthday, so then his rich ass dad was like, "And you shall have it. I set up a tournament."
But this is the one thing I don't get is like this is really never really been communicated that the humans do actually go and talk to aliens
I know,
outside.
right? And he's like, "Oh yeah, I've got the best minds on it," and you're like, "But where was this before?"
Yeah, this is like I understand in terms of the Dragon Ball universe, like yeah, we know there's aliens out there, but the humans don't specifically know that, right? Apart from the interactions they've had with the Saiyans, and even then, the Saiyans look human.
I mean, like the only other race by that point that they would have is the Namekians, but they all hung out in Capsule Corp, so not everybody knew about them. Besides Piccolo, I guess.
Yeah, but even that, yeah, King Piccolo is arguably a thing. It's weird. It's weird that bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, the setup for it's strange. The whole like they brought in Super Saiyan 2 Gohan again, which looked cool, but in reality, it was like the thing that set off Super Saiyan 2 Gohan in the Cell Saga was obviously the rage and obviously seeing Android 16's head crush, and that's what made him snap and all his mates getting attacked. Whereas this one, it kind of felt like there wasn't that much of a trigger to set
It
off that
wasn't because
rage.
it was basically friends got wrecked, and then Goku was like, "You need to get mad," and then
Yeah.
he was like, "Okay,"
And he
and then
got mad, and
he got
then
mad, and then he turned Super Saiyan 2, and then he punched one of them in half and kicked one of them in half, and then Zangia, the girl, got used as a human shield
motherfucker. Yeah.
by BoJack, and then
And then
stuff.
BoJack is just a villain that was just there. He never really had much of a motive apart from oh, he was sealed away and now he's back.
Also, it's I don't think it's ever explained, but at one point in at least the dub we watched, when
Mhm.
Goku's like, "Go on, you need to get angry," and then
Yeah.
BoJack goes, "Was that Goku?" And I'm like, "Wait, how do you even know who that is? Was that ever explained? Like, how do you
That
know
is
who
actually
Goku
so
is?"
that is so true actually. Like the only way I can think about it is like where so obviously BoJack was sealed in the North Galaxy,
Yeah.
right? And he got released when King Kai's planet got blown up. I was always under the impression that, like, I think it's from Team Four Star that BoJack was sealed
Shut up,
within.
BoJack. Arr!
Literally, I literally, and I thought he was sealed inside King Kai's planet, but I don't think it is it? I
I
don't.
don't
I think that
think
was
it
just
is.
made up.
I think that's
No,
just Team Four Star, and you just heard the gag too many
I
times.
think I
Shut
think
up,
it is
Gregory.
literally.
Shut
Yeah.
up, Bubbles. Shut up,
Shut
BoJack.
up,
Arr!
BoJack. But fair, like, and then he's got all his mates with him as well. So were they sealed, or did he just
Maybe.
reconnect with his mates? I don't know.
I don't know. I remember through playing Dokkan Battle and learning some of their names. The one with the sword that fights Trunks is confusingly called Gokua.
Oh God,
So it's just Goku with an A on
he
the
gets wrecked
end.
quite like he gets wrecked really early as well compared to
Yeah.
the rest of them. But yeah, again, a meh film when you look at like compare it to fucking Broly and like Cooler and all those
Yeah,
sort of
I mean,
ones. Yeah,
honestly, my favorite part of the film is just seeing Gohan in Goku's outfit. That's it.
yeah, that was a nice
That's
touch.
it.
Uh, yeah.
Nothing
Yeah,
else.
and even then, you got that in when fucking Boo Saga happens. But anyway, yeah, we'll move on because as we mentioned before, Broly's not dead. He was so popular they brought him back.
For Broly's second coming. Oh, takes place just before the Boo saga because Videl was
Yeah.
there asking
Yes.
Trunks and Goten for help finding the Dragon Balls for something.
Ye- what was it for?
Never explained as far as I know. She just wanted help to gather them.
I
Um,
forgot. Yeah, there must have been a reason,
she
right?
never says anything. She never says a
Well,
reason.
it just speaks massively about this film because I really didn't like this. But there's
I mean,
another film which I
yeah,
really
I was
like,
gonna say we'll get there, but I will
but
say it's nice to see Vidal doing stuff,
yeah.
even in a
Yeah,
small
it's true.
capacity, because pretty much right after this, she'll get wrecked at a tournament and then she'll never do anything again, all the way up until Super.
Yeah, it is. I think at the time it must have been at like a point where Videl was kind of, like you said, being introduced, and I wanted to make her still a prominent character. Like, because when she's first introduced, like before the Boo saga and stuff, like she's actually a very prominent character. Like,
Yeah,
but
because she's a crime fighter and she's like an actual martial artist
yeah,
that Hercule
and she
must have
knows
been
how
at
to
some
fly
point.
in this one, right?
Yeah, so it's sometime after the very beginning of the Boo saga because
Mm,
Gohan's they're already hanging out. She knows the kids
yeah,
and she knows how to fly. So it's like somewhere in between there and probably just before the tournament
but
or after
yeah,
the tournament. I don't know because it can't take place after the World Martial Arts tournament because then all the Boo stuff kicks off. So it must be just before then.
yeah, and Goku would have been back around that time, wouldn't he? But even then, that's a weird
Well,
one.
I think
We
it's
can talk
just
about
before
later
he comes back
movies.
as well because like right at the end he like when they're doing the Kamehameha and
Yeah.
then Goku sort of is a massive apparition in the sky and then somehow turns into his physical form behind his sons and he's like, "We can do this all together." And you're like,
Yeah.
"How? What the
And
f
it's like,
what?"
was it the Dragon Balls or wasn't it? And then like it was just like some bullshit there. There's a lot of bullshit in this movie, I feel that.
Yeah, I
Especially
mean,
the Trunks and Goten stuff is so freaking dull as well, man.
do you know why? It's
Like
because it's Trunks and Goten.
I
They're
like
annoying.
I know like the thing is in Z, I don't mind them as much. I
That's
think
because they don't
it's
do as much.
But when they're front and center, it is so freaking laborious, and like you have comedy moments that don't hit. Oolong and Roshi and Yajirobe comedy moments actually had some hits and misses. These don't hit at all, and
I
like
think
it's
it's
just
because it's like kid slapstick humor, you know?
yeah,
It's actually the character flaws I find of both Trunks and Goten. Kid Trunks is just obnoxious, and Goten is just a kid with very little personality who just follows Trunks around.
yeah,
So like when
it's
they're front and center like that, you're like, oh, okay, so one's gonna mouth off and the other one's just gonna be a goofball.
yeah. And compared to the reverse Broly movie, this one just really doesn't hit
No,
at all.
honestly, the best part is the like whole Son family Kamehameha.
Yeah. Just
That's
can't,
it.
yeah, that's the best bit. That's like, I don't know, it's just a cool moment there. But other
Yeah,
than that,
it's cool because it's
yeah.
like, oh man, we never thought we'd see something like that happen again after, after Cell, where it's the father son, and then it's like, oh no, it's the whole family now because he's got the little brother and everything.
It is cool. I like that bit, but the rest of it,
Yeah,
shite.
but not as shite as this next one.
Oh god, I forgot. Like I knew it was bad, right? But I never realized how bad Bio Broly was.
Oh my
It was.
god,
You
this
don't have Gohan in it. You don't have Goku. You don't have Vegeta. You don't have Piccolo. You don't have none of this apart from Krillin. Like Android 18's cool,
and
but
Hercule.
like they don't drive a story as well as the other. The ones that are driving
No,
the story here are fucking Goten and Trunks, and like we said, but in the previous one, it's shite.
yeah.
Oh
Well, it's
my
also shite
life!
because this is like a direct sequel to the Second Coming, so it takes place probably like I don't know, a couple of months after.
Yeah. Oh mate, it was
And it like
so bad.
the worst part about it is that he only looks like Broly for probably like a total of 2 minutes at best,
Yeah.
and then he turns into that fucking mud monster.
I thought it was over. I thought they defeated him, and then he came back. And I was like, "Oh no, the film's still going." Yeah,
I
mate, it was
I
yeah.
oh yeah, it was fucking stupid and like
So this is
even
obviously taking place at the time of fucking the martial arts tournament has kind of gone on because Android 18 wants her money.
yeah. And all that's the other thing is like 18 is insufferable in this film. I get it. You want to get paid, but it's just all she ever basically says is, "Where's my money?"
There's no depth. There's no depth to the
Yeah,
character, and
I
it's
will
just like, but
charge. I'm charging you
yeah.
more money to help you, but where's my money?
I think like the slightest bit of like redeeming bits in it is that like she says, "Ah, I'm not. It's not worth that much. I have mouths to feed. I don't want to die," but then she continues fighting anyway, and then it's just like it just comes across a bit shit.
Oh, actually, I just remembered something that is like totally. I don't know how it managed to get past.
Hmm.
Right at the end, after they've like fucking finished it, and then Hercule is like, 18, come save me. And then she says something, and he decides to like sink so he can swim a little bit. And Trunks goes, maybe he was better off dead. And you're like, what?
I remember that. It's just a throwaway line as well, isn't it? Like, oh,
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing that confused me in the film is also like, I can probably explain it away, right? There's a very easy explanation, but at the same time, Trunks somehow just knows the Kamehameha. I get it, him and Goten are best friends, so Goten probably showed him how to do it, but they never expressly say that, and you're supposed to just
mm,
guess that that's why. But like, he just like
yeah,
never used it before. Even in the previous films, he charges one up, but he never fires one off. So you're like, oh, maybe he doesn't, right? But then in this one, he actually does it. Him, Krillin, Goten do it to be, to destroy the crusted over giant mud Broly, and then
yeah,
it's just never mentioned again, and he never does it again. And you're just like, oh, okay. So you just know one of the franchise's most iconic moves and never use it. There's okay.
yeah. I think this movie. I think you just gotta like, I don't know, erase it from your memory.
Yeah, because
Like,
this is easily, in my opinion, the worst one of them all.
absolutely, yeah.
Oh my god, it's such like it's just like why does it exist? Right? Why? Because you didn't even have Broly look the way he did before. You could have just made that fucking weird slug monster.
Literally
And
could have, yeah, who has like, I don't know, Broly DNA or something like that, but you didn't have to make it Broly.
you literally
Like
could have
it,
called it Bio anything, and it would still have worked because it fucking didn't look like Broly. The only reason you said Broly was just to get people back in, and I'm like, I don't think original Broly's good enough to carry 3 films.
nah.
He was barely good enough to have 2 films,
Yeah, the two was the second one was bad, but this is like you think like this you think the second one's bad, you like it can't get worse, right? And
and
then
then
this
they
comes
prove
along.
you wrong by clutching at
Oh.
straws. At least like the new version of Broly probably could actually carry some more films. Slightly more interesting character with more depth. But the
Yeah.
original movie Broly is just like, bro, this one doesn't even talk. For fuck's sake. This one
The
doesn't even make
screams.
noise. It just like
Actually.
yeah, exactly. Insert random
Oh.
noise is probably what it does.
It's
Fucking
just
shit. Fucking terrible movie.
it's bad. It's just bad. I just want to move past it. I just
Yeah, let's please do because I was. Ugh.
Fusion Reborn.
This is actually a decent one.
I actually really enjoyed this one. I remember like when I watched it on Tsunami when I was a kid, I really enjoyed it. And this
This
was like this one. This one. This is like in terms of story, it's not the most in depth thing.
no, this is. I think this is around the same time where they were just like Dragon Ball is just about fighting bad guys, big bads.
Yeah.
So like this one is even worse if you look at everything, all the details on paper, because it takes place after Boo is defeated, but not Kid Boo. Like
Because Vegeta's dead.
yeah, so I guess it's like Super Boo, and it only looks kind of worse on paper because Janemba is basically Boo
Yes.
in almost like it's almost a carbon copy because it's like starts off as a big baby like one and then compresses down into a sleeker, more chaotic, evil one. But the Janemba that we see, like the sleeker one, is pretty fucking cool.
It,
Like,
it it really is. Okay, like out of all the villains, it doesn't say any lines. It doesn't have a motive. It just wants to kill things, and it's just an embodiment of chaos.
Yeah,
Much like Majin Buu was, obviously doesn't have a motive or anything, just like wants to fucking ruin
but the
shit.
difference is Janemba's got a cool ass sword,
Yeah, sleeker design.
and it
Like,
also has the weird like teleporting. Whereas everyone just like moves with key, and you got the quick like speed lines. Janemba like breaks down into like cubes and stuff
yeah,
into like another
it's
dimension and then comes out. But that just looks really cool.
they did really good with the animation in this one. I think like this is like for me peak Dragon Ball Z animation as well because I feel like some of the best stuff, like best designs, came through in the like late Buu Saga anime. I
Yeah.
love like all that kind of stuff, and like it came through with this as well, and it looks so
And you
good.
get to see quite a lot in this film, not just like Janemba, but Pycon's back.
Yeah, the Pycon
In
stuff's quite funny. Like,
yeah.
he's just shouting abuse at this fucking guy that like
Well,
you
he
can't
got
really
done
see, but
dirty. Let's face it. Goku's like, you figure this out, and I'm gonna sort out the big bad. Laters.
yeah, absolutely rude. But then, like, you also have some of the Goten and Trunks stuff, which I actually did quite enjoy in this film, where for some reason they're fighting Hitler.
We know the in movie reason, like the in universe reason, is because
Yeah.
Janemba like fucks up the check-in station, so there's no barriers between heaven, living world, and like hell. I understand what you mean though. Why specifically was it that
Mm.
one person?
It was just like it what like obviously they like had a whole bunch of like famous like they had like what was it armies come back as
Yeah,
well,
like
and then
they had
Frieza's back.
Frieza. You saw all of the Ginyus and all the other like movie villains as well. Because
Yeah,
I'm pretty
Bojack appears up in one frame.
yeah, BoJack and
Who is arguably stronger than Frieza, and probably most of the other characters get brought back to life if in that case, because obviously it takes Gohan Super Saiyan 2 to but he's in one frame and then he just disappears.
well, like
See him
the
again.
most disappointing thing is that all these series villains comes back. Gohan flies straight through them,
Mhm.
gut punches Frieza, Frieza explodes, and then they all chicken out and disappear.
Yeah, that was over really quickly as well.
Like
That was
that is
like
all like resolved in like 30 seconds at most.
yeah. Yeah, so that is a bit of a lame part of it. Then you have like Hercule just walking through the city, being attacked by zombies.
But then also being exactly Hercule, like
Yeah, he's actually defeated and be like, "Hey, I could actually take these enemies." And it's quite funny, like compared to the shite that was in the previous movie where Hercules is like, "I need to give people money, so I don't get that." And his
yeah.
was his cousin or what the fuck it was, like,
Yeah.
like this is actually quite funny stuff that comes through. But like you also got like Goku and Vegeta fusion as well.
Oh, that well, this is Gogeta's like inception. Like he didn't
Yeah.
exist before this film and never existed for a long time outside of this film.
This is like I feel this is like they saw that fusion was a thing and they were like, okay, so you've done that with Goten and Trunks, but what if we did it with like two of the series' like most iconic characters at
Yeah.
this point? Let's just do that. And then they're like, okay, surely this is like you see the possibility of Gogeta and you'd be like, I want to see that. Like if they put that in the trailer, you'd be like, I want to fucking see that. I want to see fucking Gogeta come to
See,
life.
there is one thing about fusion though, and it happens in everything.
Okay, yeah, I
Series,
know
films.
exactly.
I hate it. It is such a fucking trope, and I'm sick of this gag. The failed fusion gag is
Mm.
overused, overplayed. Fucking stop that shit.
Yeah, it no, that's the one part of this film which I was just like, okay, yeah, it's just like I kind of just switched off a little bit at that point. I was like, okay, this is the thing
God,
that's
do I
they're doing
hate
that, yeah.
that fucking
The fact that
gag.
it slightly holds its own as well, though, is also the weird thing about this. It's like obviously like he's just farting all over the place and he's like not really doing much at all, but he's still holding his own against Janemba, and it's just like, wait, what? Surely this is like
I
something
can
that should be
ignore a lot of
eliminated.
the sort of like gag humor that comes with the failed fusion, because it's like, oh, the fighting, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's just the fact that we always have to have fucking failed fusions. Like, come on. how does this technique get used all the time and you're still fucking it up?
Yeah.
Okay, in this film, it's Goku and Vegeta's first time. Give them a pass on that. But when Goten and Trunks do it all the fucking time, and then it's just fucking always there. Like they did it in the Broly movie. Goku and Vegeta failed a bunch of times, and like I don't know how, because Goku's the one who learned it from the fucking Metamorans anyway. So how do you keep fucking that shit up? You learned the technique. You taught it to two kids, and you still can't do it right.
Yeah. I mean, like, in this, it's kind of like explained that it's Vegeta's fault, in it,
Yeah.
which is like a guy that's reluctant. So I think the explanation's there, but I can understand why you're over it. I can understand why.
I mean, I don't know how anyone isn't over it. It is just always fucking there and so unnecessary. It's just there to pad the time.
Mm. I have no explanations for it. I'm not a massive fan of it either, to be fair. And you're definitely more passionate about it than I am. But
No, I
like,
mean, like, no one has an explanation for it, really.
yeah,
But it is just like a thing I'm tired of.
I
But
can understand why. I can
the film
understand
does also have more redeeming features than that. Like, it didn't always happen. It was a weird continuity thing. But like,
why. Mm.
most of the time, if there was anything to do with the living dead on Earth, I noticed there was like thicker black outlines and the saturation was slightly higher. Or like it looked a little
Hmm.
like it looked more cartoony, but I really liked that difference.
I can kind of see what you mean. Yeah,
But then there's
like,
sometimes where like Goten and Trunks are dealing with, the undead armies, but then their
mhm.
like outlines got really thin again. And then the next frame it'd be really thick. I did notice like weird continuity errors like throughout most of these films. I didn't bother noting them down because it's just sort of like a weird little nitpick. But like, yeah, like at least for this point, I don't know why most of the time it was thick black outlines, and then sometimes with the overworld stuff, it just wasn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. To be fair, it's just I didn't actually pick up on that at all. To be fair, but maybe there is like a reason for it. I don't know, but
I don't know. It's like in BoJack Unbound, in the fight with Trunks and Goku, after he's transformed, he's green. But there's a
yeah,
couple of frames where Trunks flies away and he's coming in to fight him. He's blue again, and then he turns back to green when he's like close up. I didn't understand why that happened. Again, that's like I'm saying, there's some continuity things, but they're nitpicks. They're not like
yeah.
that important in the grand
Just
scheme of
like
things.
yeah, it happens. I'm surprised that did, but yeah. But yeah, I still put this movie on the same level as like say Cooler or something like that. Like I still enjoyed this one quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, overall, everything was really cool. Like designs are cool.
Yeah,
It kind of sucks that like Janemba's just created because the one guy was fucking around instead of doing his job.
and also well, Gogeta, well, arguably one of the main selling points of this movie is only in it for about 5 minutes
Yeah,
as well. It's not it literally is like 5 minutes from the end. Gogeta arrives, and it's like, oh,
yeah, Rex
okay,
Janemba somehow because of
yeah,
powers that they somehow learnt when they fused, even though they didn't have those abilities beforehand.
yeah.
Whatever though,
It
Gogeta
looked
is
cool,
cool.
and
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not gonna shit too much on it, but yeah. Which brings us to the last
the
movie.
13th and final film,
Yeah,
Wrath of the Dragon, which takes place after Boo's defeated but before Kid Buu.
yes, because we got Ultimate Gohan.
Well, we also have fucking Saiyaman,
We
and
do have
I
Saiyaman.
hate the
Yeah, this is a
Saiyaman.
great way to start off a movie for you.
I
Well, actually, we had Saiyaman in the last one as well, didn't
He
we?
did. I just chose not to bring it up then, but um, I hate Saiyaman. I think Saiyaman is stupid, and I don't honestly know how Gohan managed to convince Videl to become a Saiyaman when she was just fine with being Hercule's daughter who fights crime. Also, there's no point saying, "Oh, where's Saiyaman 1 and 2" when like they stop some bad guys, the bad guys say something about Saiyaman being stupid, and then Videl's like, "See, Gohan, even the bad guys." I'm like, "You just said his name out loud. What's the
Yeah,
point?"
yeah. The whole Saiyaman, like, illusion, like, oh, who could it be or whatever. It's very loose in these movies. Like that he just like immediately takes it off if he is ever referenced in it. And like you said, the identity stuff really isn't hidden well at all. So
Al-
yeah.
Also, it's just Gohan being lame, proving what he is lame. Like that's it.
Yeah, bruh, you don't like to say it, man, and that's fine. uh, but this film, Wrath of the Dragon, is about Harudagon. It's about
Yeah.
Tapion,
Yep.
Tapion, the little brother
I
that
forget his name.
like miscellaneous. I don't know what the fucking his name is.
Well, at least he
Uh,
had a name because, like, when he's explaining it, and then Tapion's like, "Yeah, me and my brother," and then the wizard, and he's just this other
wizard,
guy.
wizard.
It's just called the wizard the whole time. Doesn't get a name.
Yeah. Like some of the this was just like one of those movies where I kind of just watched it and I already had like very meh feelings about this movie beforehand.
What? But Tapion's
And
so cool.
do you actually think Tapion's cool?
Yes, I do. But I
So
also
like Tapion is just like Trunks, future Trunks with a
I
mohawk.
okay, I did note that down.
Yeah,
But I think that is also partly intentional on the designer's part
absolutely. Yeah.
because they tried to link him to the main series in some way with the
Hmm.
sword.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I never realized that Tapion is kind of like Dragon Ball's version of Link. He's got elf ears, he's got a sword, he's got an ocarina,
Yeah.
and you're just sort of like,
It's
huh, okay.
Yeah, there's some things in it where, like, I don't know, the Tapion characters. I understand, yeah, he's got a backstory. He's got a bit more backstory than any other fucking characters in these movies, to be honest. But like, it's I don't care for him. I think like your thoughts of Trunks, where you don't like future Trunks. I don't like Tapion, bruv. Like, I don't know why, but this
I
guy
just
is
like
just meh.
Tapion's design more
Yeah.
than anything. I just think Tapion looks cool.
I thought the brother was gonna come back at the end or something, but he don't.
No, he never does. He's dead.
Yeah,
He's dead.
yeah. I thought
And
there'd be some sort of thing there,
to
like the
be
brothers.
fair,
No, if you can, yeah.
it's more about Hirudegan and like the final form of Hirudegan. I always really liked
Well, really?
where he looks. Yeah,
Okay. It is.
what
I
you
don't like
got?
Harudigard either. Like, it's a monster that like is basically like I don't know. Do you want to create something that looks a bit like Cell X, but like is not exactly Cell X?
So you're
Okay,
telling me
cool.
you would prefer Cell X to Hirudegan?
I don't like either.
Okay,
I
but
don't like
if you had to
I don't
pick,
like Harudon because I don't like Cell X.
okay,
I don't
but
want to
if you
pick
had to
either.
pick one,
Don't want to pick either one.
but
I'd
you
rather
have
pick
to
fucking why?
because I said so.
Oh, fuck's sake. Harudion, I guess.
Okay, that's fine.
Nothing can beat my disgust of Cell X. But
I shall
I
remember this forever and always.
like it's still shit. I don't like any of it. There's a skeleton Harudigon, and there's the fucking big bug Harudigon, which is just eating people. There's a big massacre, and then like it's all over, and they're like, was it loads of people are dead? They don't revive them. It's just Goku stand at the end like, yeah, I defeated Harudigon. Realistically, you just wanted to take the fucking credit by the looks of it, mate. You just fucking cave in. Like what was it? They could have well, Trunks could have actually killed Harudigon if his fucking sword shit that they held with Tapion. But like Goku's like, no, Trunks, this is my fight. I want to beat
Well, I
Harudigon.
mean, it's Goku,
And
isn't it? Like,
but like I just don't understand like
I don't
why.
understand it either, but it's Goku. Like, that's just what he
Like
does. And then he
it
gets
is
to
what
use
he
the
does,
Super
but it
Dragon
just
Fist.
yeah, it's plot at the end of the day. Obviously, it's Goku. He's the main, but like Goku is also obviously struggling the whole fucking time, and then he just comes in at the end, does this Super Dragon Fist, and then like
A move
does
that I
some
swear he
shit.
doesn't learn until after all of this is over.
Man, I don't know, they just threw it in there
Because I swear in
apparently.
the
But
main series, he doesn't learn that move until after he disappears with Shenron at the end of the series.
I thought it was just made up for this movie.
I don't remember. Either way,
I thought, but
doesn't make any
e-
sense.
yeah, I just like all of this movie. I think was it the main villain man was a little short like
I
red
forget
dude.
his name too. He's not important.
Yeah, how I was gonna say how, but that's the thing from Shaman King. Like he's just there, and like he's obviously evil from the start. You know he's evil, and then they're like, "Oh, maybe we can trust him though." Like, man, yeah, I don't know. It's just
This film
All
also
of the
makes Goku
movie.
really dumb because there's one point they interact, him and this guy, and he he said something and Goku's like, "What? You're from another planet?" He's like, "No, no, I'm from Earth. I'm as Earth as it gets." And Goku's like, "Yeah, I guess so." And you're like, "What do you mean you guess so? No, who else is red like that?"
You were just questioning it 2 seconds ago, like,
Also,
bro,
the guy's got whiskers and all this shit. I'm like, Goku,
yeah. And
where have
then
you
what
ever
Bulma
seen
says,
that
say,
before?
oh, was it when they're talking, when Bulma's
Oh
talking to
yeah,
Tape, I was like,
I knew
oh
it. The
yeah,
whiskers
douche.
gave it away, and he's like,
Like,
"And
oh,
you didn't say
bro.
anything."
Like everything about this, like, in fairness, it's not the worst movie in this, and it is actually better than a lot of these. But I just don't like it at all. Like this whole movie is just like one of those ones like I just sat through and I was like,
Look, I'm not saying it's a good film. I just appreciate some of the character designs. That's it. Again,
I
I
can,
think
yeah,
Tapion's design is really cool, and I think Hirudegan's like full on bug form is pretty cool. Rest of it I could do without. Well, especially because it's like a Trunks like fucking Trunks heavy movie, and I hate
sure,
Trunks.
yeah. And you got the origin of the sword, which is also really thrown in. Like, because I feel like when was introduced, he had the sword and it looked cool. But I don't think the sword was supposed to be his main thing.
No, and like it's also confusing because it like messes with the timeline if you think about it. Because like most people are like, "Oh, so that's how Future Trunks got the sword," but Future Trunks never once mentions Goten. But Goten was in that film, so if that makes sense, what the fuck happened to Goten? Do you know
It's
what I
so
mean?
fucking
Like,
true, yeah.
because then it really does fuck shit up. It's like, "Oh, that's how we got the sword." Yeah, but you never once mentioned your best friend who's Goku's second son.
They literally also that also does mean that even though this takes place after all the Cell stuff happened, so
None of it
it just
clicks.
doesn't
So it's like,
on face value, you think, "Oh, that's where the sword's from." But then you look into it and be like, "Wait, what? No, it
it's
does."
almost like an Easter egg, like sort of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of thing. But at the same time, it's a confusing one because you're like, yeah, but
It
now you just
literally takes
like,
2 seconds of thought to be like, "Wait, what? That
yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
add up." Like, yeah. It's that's one thing. I think that's why it kind of takes the wind out of sails a little bit more about this movie, and it's just, bruh, like, yeah, I'm just not a fan. It's
So, would you say before like we wrap all of this up, would you say this was a worthwhile experience?
right. Okay, so we watched all of these movies in the space of like literally a little over a day,
Pretty much.
and honestly, back to back, you can tell which ones are good and which ones aren't so good. And realistically, none of them are amazing, but I feel there are some really good which I enjoyed. I love the Cooler one. I think the Broly one is good. I know that some people love it like a lot. Uh, I think it's good. That's what I'm gonna say about that. But Fusion Reborn, I like a lot of these, but they're not canon at the end of the day, and you point the holes out in these a lot. The timeline's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you really wanted to watch these and not taking regard of the full series in general, fine. I think there's some nice ones you can watch, some good ones you can watch, but bruh, 80% of these aren't great, in my opinion. What about you? What do you think?
My honest opinion is I would not recommend you suffer through all of this the way we did. Unless that's your choice. And like I feel like suffer is the perfect word for it cuz like
Yeah.
Pepe said, most of these are okay at best. There's a few standout hits, but they're all unnecessary because they're all non-canon and they're just sort of like stories.
Yeah. I will say this though, like we've seen a lot of these characters come back in some modern iterations of video games, right? Like so like like in Xenoverse 2, there's quite a fair few characters in that.
Yeah, or
Uh
Super Dragon Ball Heroes.
yeah,
Lots of them
like
will come back.
there's a lot of them, and I actually don't fault a lot of these character designs in general. I think they actually, in that sort of isolated situation, I actually don't mind them being in those games. I quite enjoy that. I think it's cool. Little, oh, there's this character, and that's quite good. Like Janemba in fucking Fighters, I love that. I thought that was a really cool addition. But there's a lot of these. I think it's the storylines of the movies themselves, which I don't great with as well.
I I think I agree with you in the sense that these stories are fine to exist in a game setting because it's extra content. And when you're playing a game, that's great, right? Because there are extra storylines that you don't necessarily have to do. Like, when we played Budokai 3 and like you could do Bardock for a little bit and there was like little what if stories and stuff. Like in a lot of the games, you can do things like that. Or like just these characters' inclusions in the games, I think is good. But to focus just on the films themselves, I really honestly don't recommend doing this like we did. I think if you watch a couple and then you take breaks and then maybe a few days and then come back, or you just watch the one-off ones here and there, I honestly don't recommend them as like a full-on movie marathon like this. Like,
Absolutely not,
I
no.
spend half a day doing this. I'm like, I actually wasted half a day of my life.
It is
Like,
honestly, it does feel like because I could have been watching fucking Chainsaw Man.
bro, I could have been
Uh,
doing a number of anything else. And instead we did this.
I mean, at least we know. Like, I think back then when I first watched these, I had a bit of a childlike wonder. Like, I was excited to see these because it was more Dragon Ball content than we had before, and it was after the Boo saga. It was like any Dragon Ball content's good Dragon Ball content.
Yeah.
Realistically, this time where we also have Super and like,
And better films.
yeah, I feel these just like are it's a slog to watch. Some great moments. I'm not gonna diss the whole thing. Like I said before, I have enjoyed quite a few of these movies, but yeah, like Nathan said, back to back, nah, would not recommend this.
And with that, I think we should end because we're just gonna fucking keep like shitting on this.
I think it is like I think part of it is like just the bulk of it. I think especially the last one, it's left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, and that is what it is. Um, but like like there's some good ones. Give them a shot, mate. Like if you like them, bruh, it's your thing. Like if you like them, they like them, man.
I mean, like what it comes down to is we don't recommend it, but you're gonna do what you're gonna do.
Yeah, that how it be.
If that's what you choose to do, good luck. You're gonna need it. Make sure you got plenty of drinks and snacks. Like, you know, keep yourself
Drink,
healthy in that.
yeah. You're
Um,
gonna need it.
but yeah,
But yeah.
besides that, I don't have anything else to say. Like,
Nah, I think we'll close up the episode there before you hear any more of our whinging. But anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Anyway, thank you for listening to us ramble for this long. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button. You know where it be. Links to the podcast stuff is in our description. We're also on Twitter. Follow us there. And on that note, we will see you next time for another Cultured Boys episode. Bye bye.
bye.